Hi there, come on in. What a 4th of July show we have for you. At our outdoor fair this past weekend, a Civil War group that was a part of our muzzleloaders village brought in a 3-inch Civil War cannon and put on quite a demonstration.
Okay, fire.
Boy, that was a wallop. We had more spectacular shooting by more people this year than ever in our shooting shows. We'll bring you outdoor fair highlights. We'll go fishing with Richard Dawson for his favorite fish of all, European style. So you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors. Have you ever seen hunting retrievers being trained? Well, these dogs love to fetch a dummy or a duck in season, and Cindy Malski delighted the crowd during the first hour of the outdoor fair with her retriever training methods. Following the retrievers were the pointing dogs, and trainers such as Charlie Lindblade from Ann Arbor set out boxes of live quail, which exuded the kind of scent that causes a pointer to lock up. Nothing prettier than an English setter on point, except maybe a brace of English and Gordon setters that are backing each other up. To a hunter, oh, what a sight. Arnold Welsh was new to the outdoor fair. He brought together an entire hound show. Rabbit dogs, coon dogs, fox and coyote and bear hounds. The crowd got to see an array of breeds used for hunting. Bob Garner coordinated and emceed the sporting dog show, which was definitely the best ever. And how was Puppy Alley? Well, they all weren't bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but over 100 sporting dog puppies made a big hit with the crowd. Michigan Duck Hunters Association helped with the fair as usual with the annual Moosehead Duck Calling Contest and with displays on duck hunting. Larry Malski worked with Moosehead Beer in developing an ideal duck boat that Duck Hunters Association is using for educational programs about waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. The boat was at the fair, and you'll see it this fall in a feature we'll do on the hows and whys of duck hunting. Now, in the high school, the exhibitors and the crowd were able to duck the 85-degree heat on Saturday. The air-conditioned high school served as the exhibit hall where people could see products and outfitters they've seen on our TV shows. Remember when I caught that 45-pound salmon in Alaska? Well, it was on display, mounted by master taxidermist Tim Hayes, who's going to be the head taxidermist of my new taxidermy studio I'm opening this fall. Tim had an awesome display of his work from all over the world. The Livingston Archers had several bow hunter lifelike target courses wending through the woods behind the high school. These courses were for fun and for practice, as were some of the novelty shoots. Here a young lady is using a high-tech bow with a release and an overdraw, aiming at the clay target on the left.
Oh, right dead center, yeah.
Pretty fancy shooting, which proves that archery isn't just a man's sport. The long bear stood out there over 125 yards away.
Watch that one.
That looked good.
It was a good shot, a very good shot, considering the distance. In slow motion, you can see the arrow against the trees above the bear. It lands just off the mark. The idea was to put an arrow inside this small circle, which would win you the Big Bear four-wheeler donated by Hackers Yamaha of Houghton Lake, but nobody won this year. And talk about a slice of history. There it was, a living slice of history. Guy and Evelyn Swan put together the best muzzleloaders rendezvous ever. That's Guy and Evelyn at their colonial camp. You could see all kinds of colonial arts and crafts, hand weaving and carving, demonstrations of tools, and a number of handcrafted items were for sale. The participants in the Houghton Lake Rendezvous stayed in their dwellings, tents, cabins, and teepees like this one. Now, they were authentic and open to the public so we could get a flavor of life in the 1700s and 1800s in colonial America. The clothes hangers were new, though. Here's a project by some young boys. They took the bark off some fallen birches in the nearby woods and made a teepee from scratch. Now, this wasn't just a gimmick, this was an actual shelter, the kind that was used in the days of the French-Indian War. One of their battles, by the way, was reenacted at 1 o'clock each day.
Third rank, make ready. Present. Fire.
In the back of the high school, with the Indians attacking from the woods, the skirmish was frightfully realistic. And speaking of history, Ron LeClaire demonstrated longbows like Robin Hood used.
All right. Whoa.
That is accuracy. But Norm Blaker wasn't about to be outdone. He developed the trick of shooting his bow behind his back.
Go. There you go.
And not to be outdone, Norm's son, Davy Blaker, takes a crack at a tennis ball. Not to be outdone, I picked up a long bow and shoot at a practice golf ball, that little perforated wiffle ball type. Want to look at that again? Sure, I hit it. I've been practicing with a longbow, you know.
Yes, you're all right.
Well, I was proud of that hit, but Davy Blaker took the longbow to its limit. The target, an aspirin, small, white. You can see it against the trees as Davy lets his arrow fly.
There we go, Davy Blaker.
That was dead on, a real demonstration of hand-eye coordination. You can see it in slow motion. There's no denying it. The small tip of the arrow connected with the aspirin that was probably smaller in diameter yet. Amazing.
There we go, Davy Blaker.
Davy Blaker, an up-and-coming name in longbow shooting. And here's one of the targets used in sporting clays. It's a 90-millimeter clay pigeon, 3/4 the size of a normal trap or skeet pigeon.
Bird.
Red ball with the gun. Now Harry Reinfelder.
Bird.
Now it's my turn.
Modified.
Bird.
Red ball is Michigan's sporting clays champ, shooting now at a Batu target. Flat, it sails, sometimes oddly. Red loads 2 shells as he demonstrates doubles from the hip.
Bird.
Red ball manufactures this target thrower especially for sporting clays. The narrow Batus sometimes slip through the pattern. At the shooting show, we ran a little friendly competition with the shooting sports, trying to see who could shoot the fastest with the bird coming our way from behind the berm.
Bird.
Harry calls for the bird and shoots within 1 second.
Bird.
Harry Reinfelder has excellent eyesight and a quick reaction time. Now Red ball with another test of skill. He's going to toss 4 60-millimeter pigeons himself and try to powder them all before they hit the ground. On the heels of that speed shooting is Harry Reinfelder with 8 shots.
1. Harry Reinfelder and Red Ball. How about
Harry Reinfelder and Red Ball dazzled the crowds with shotgun tricks, but stealing the thunder, so to speak, was this Civil War cannon. A muzzleloaders group brought this relic to the fair for the first time this year, and they said they could hit a target with relatively reliable accuracy and with plenty of oomph. Now here's 1 pound of powder with a 5-pound projectile. Watch this.
Okay, fire.
When the smoke cleared, the crowd could see the can. Here's a different camera angle.
Fire.
A 5-gallon bucket of water was flattened instantaneously. Now let's look at it in super slow motion.
Fire.
Backing it up, you can see the projectile arcing towards the target, then wham. Awesome. An awesome shooting show, an awesome outdoor fair. Boy, you should have been there. Here's that 5-gallon can that was hit by that cannon, blew it to smithereens. We're going to have more about that cannon on a future show. But right now, to get us psyched up for the October 1st bow season is first-year bow hunter Robert Harrier.
I just picked a spot. My mom brought me out because my dad was out fishing Manistee, and she brought me out to the woods and dropped me off, and I remember my dad saying that this one spot would be a good spot to hunt, and I was going to go to my regular cherry tree that I usually go, and I thought, I'd try this spot. So I walked in there, and I was trampling around, and I found me a nice stump to sit on. In a while, I was sitting there, and I seen this rabbit come by, and I thought, well, I wasn't going to go home empty-handed, so I shot at the rabbit and missed. And I was all mad, so I went and got my arrow and tied it back on my string tracker, and a little towards dark, I heard the noise. I looked behind me, and there sat this big deer. I just stood up and pulled back the bow and shot it.
14-year-old Bob Harrier, his first year bow hunting, his first night in the stand, his first buck, a 10-point. Let's make Bob Harrier from Alma our Williams Gun Sight Rookie Bow Hunter of the Week. Based on Michigan Outdoors, it doesn't have to be a complicated recipe. We select a lot of simple and easy ones for the show. If you'd like to submit a recipe and be in the running for a place in our 1992 cook-off, which we tape in September and telecast next March, just call or write us for a recipe contest entry form. The deadline is July 15th. Send your recipe to us before the 15th and you'll be in the running. We have an article in our current Outdoor Digest magazine about Richard Dawson, an Englishman who came to Michigan to catch his fish of a lifetime. Let's join him for a morning of carp fishing at Kent Lake. Kent Lake is a typical North American lake, shallow, full of fish, including carp. Just the fish that Richard Dawson, a bricklayer from Guildford, England, came to America to catch. In England, the average lake is 6 or 7 acres, about the size of a farm pond in America. And most freshwater fish in England, including catfish and carp, are protected. Because of the popularity of fishing in the relatively few ponds where fishing is available, England's fishing is almost totally catch and release. So here was Richard Dawson, English fisherman here in America, trying to fulfill his dream of catching a 20-pound carp. That's a fish of a lifetime in England. Salmon and trout fishing in the United Kingdom is extremely expensive. The license fees and leases that are sold for small stretches of private streams, well, that cost as much as many anglers in America spend on their boats. That's why most English fishermen like Richard can only afford to fish for the freshwater species. It's a lot less expensive. His equipment is pretty much the same as we use in America. A few accoutrements that aren't common here, but the terminal tackle, the lines, sinkers, swivels, and hooks are the same as we use, except English anglers tend to use smaller and lighter hooks and line. Most English fishing is done from shore, not from boats, and they do what they call pre-baiting, tossing out a supply of bait to attract the fish and make them think that they found a natural food supply.
You use a tool in your fishing most fishermen don't use. You call it a catapult. We call it in the States here a slingshot. Why in the world do you have to carp fish with a slingshot?
Well, you need it in England more because the lakes are smaller. There's no need to fish from boats or anything like that. You can fish from the shoreline where they're only kind of 6 or 7 acres, the majority of them. So everybody fishes from the shoreline rather than boats. And just to get your bait into all the round awkward islands or out sort of 20, 50 yards into the lake, something like that, you need a slingshot to be able to put the bait out.
So you're chumming?
Yeah, what you would call chumming, we call pre-baiting, something like that. Yeah, it's just to get a natural food supply of your own with whatever bait you're using on the hook, like sweet corn or any of the baits that we would use in England, just to get it out in the water and create your own kind of natural food supply in a natural food trap where they would be looking for food.
After putting the bite in the like, Richard sets his rod on a holder where the line is monitored with an electronic buzzer. He fishes 2 rods at once in holders, waiting for the signal that the line is moving. If a fish hits one rod, he'll take the other rod off the holder and set the tip in the water to put the line on the bottom where it won't tangle with the fish. I mean, those beeps could drive you nuts. Now the moment of truth.
That's carp.
What do you think?
That's good fish. I don't know how big it is, but it's good fish. I'll be alright. I've dropped the tip in the water so the line will sink right at the bottom. I shouldn't have any problems.
Is it a good one, Richard?
I don't know yet, but they seem to fight harder over here because you don't hook them so much.
Oh, this is a good one.
That's in the weed there. That's what it is. Oh no. Thought it'd come off then. That's the problem. It's in the weed.
Get him. This is exciting, you know. I mean, this is exciting. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Oh,
Ooh.
Nice one, too. Whoa.
For an Englishman, action like this is a real thrill. In his home country, this fish would be returned to be caught again and again, which is why they use big nets with small mesh, so the fish won't be harmed. The English use a variety of baits for carp. Canned corn is a favorite, but we learned about a new one from Richard. Cashew nuts tied underneath the hook.
Carp take cashews?
Oh yeah, they'll take a cashew nut.
How would you rig a cashew nut to get a carp to take it? How do you pull it on a hook?
Oh, you don't put it on the hook, you put it just below the hook. You can't really fish on the hook in England. If a carp picks up the bait in England where it's been caught so many times, they get very wise and wary of baits and lines and stuff. And if it picks up the bait and the bait is on the hook, it'll feel the line with its lips and it'll just spit it out again because it'll know what's going on. It's been caught so many times before. So you have to tie it below the hook with a piece of line about 2 pound or 1 pound breaking strain. So when it picks it up, it can't feel the line in its lips because it's a fine. And then when it picks it up, because it's a hard bait like a cashew nut, it can't break it up in its lips and it has to take it down into its pangnoral teeth down in its throat.
Back in its throat?
Yeah. And when it does that, if it picks it up and feels it's safe because it can't feel any line behind it, it feels it's safe and it'll suck it back down to the teeth to crush it and then eat it. And when it takes it back down to the teeth, the hook will follow into the mouth and then it'll hook it then. But if you don't fish with methods like that in England, you're not going to catch any carp like you can in America.
You really do handle these really gently. I mean, babies in hospitals probably don't get this kind of gentle handling.
Well, it's all catch and release fishing in England, and I know somebody else is going to have to catch this fish one day. If we don't treat them like this in England, they die, get injured, catch diseases if they were cut, and die, and then there wouldn't be any fishing for anybody. So you've got to handle them as well as you can. That's why we use these nets with micro mesh, small holes so that it can't damage the fins or any of the scaling. That's why it's such fine and soft material.
How many times, this is 8-9 pound fish, how many times would this fish be caught by the time it weighed 8 or 9 pounds in a typical English pond?
That'd be hard to say. It could be anything 50 times, could be.
50 times easily?
Yeah, probably in most waters, yeah.
So you got to handle them carefully.
Oh yeah, if you want the fish to be there for the next generation after you've gone, you've got to look after them.
England doesn't have lakes and rivers like we enjoy. We're lucky we can keep and eat much of what we catch in America without harming the populations. Richard Dawson can't understand why carp are so totally ignored by American sport fishermen, especially the anglers who release what they catch. Well, Richard, nobody showed us how and why to treat carp with respect, but you've done it. I think maybe we should change our attitudes, don't you? Our article about Richard in the Outdoor Digest is titled, "If Fishing is for Sport, Why Not Carp?" Why not?
We've got a deer lunch meat recipe that would make a great appetizer either summer or winter. And Shanette Wilson sent this to us.
All the way from West Virginia.
Yes. Going to use venison burger, and here you can see it's processed. You can see the little pieces of fat in it. But most of it's been removed. It looks pretty good.
That would be great on the grill.
Oh, yeah, just patties,
Cooked
just like that.
Medium rare.
Yep.
But you're going to add, what, granulated garlic,
Some
onion powder,
mustard seed, and black pepper. Right. And this just, you want to mix it all up really good. And, of course, your tender quick salt, and it'll kind of, just preserve the meat.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you can take a vote in the audience, because I'm sure people know right now whether they like it or not.
Just by the ingredients.
And a lot of people love this type of summer sausage. I don't share that fondness.
I gathered that.
No, I don't. I don't know. To me, that is a ruination of venison, but some people really like it. And this is an easy recipe to do.
It is. You're just going to make a log, and you want to set this in the refrigerator. Now, here, if you didn't want to add all the salt, those ingredients made just into hamburger patties would be great on the grill.
You mean with that stuff you put in it?
Right.
Without the salt?
Without the salt.
tender cooked salt.
Yep. And then then you want to put it in aluminum foil and then bake it in a very slow oven.
Well, how long does it refrigerate?
It should refrigerate overnight.
And then in the oven for?
Right. About 2 hours in the oven.
Well, I tell you, I look at this stuff as things you might serve the dog. But my son, Zach, business manager for the Outdoors Club, loves it, and I have to ask him about it. What is it about this doggy food stuff that you like?
I don't know. I mean, at least with corned beef hash in the morning, I can sprinkle Tabasco all over my eggs and my hash. Hamburger helper, I can make up some of that stuff and put Tabasco in it. I don't know, because I haven't figured out how I can incorporate Tabasco into this.
Oh, just sprinkle it right on the bread. Let the bread soak it up. That'd work.
But if you didn't have the Tabasco and the mustard and all, would you like what's?
Oh yeah, I could just take this and just eat it.
Just get down on your hands and knees on the kitchen floor and get your face in the bowl. I mean, I'm sorry, and all due respect to the people who like this stuff and cook this, it's just, I plan on eating it when I get real old, you know?
I plan on eating it when I get real old, too.
I know it. But the difference is you'll enjoy it. I'll do it just because it'll be cheap. People either like summer sausage or they don't. But if you're one of the summer sausage lovers, you ought to give Shonette's recipe a try. This recipe, along with all of our recipes for May, June, and July, are in the current issue of the Outdoor. Well, that wraps up our 4th of July show. It's been a busy week with the Outdoor Fair, this short work week. I hope you're enjoying yourself fishing or shooting or whatever. Play it safe and get outdoors if you can. It's a great place to be. See you next week. Next week on Michigan Outdoors, we'll climb aboard an Au Sable riverboat and chase some stream trout with flies down the South Branch. We'll tape that next week, right before the show, so the action will be fresh. Since this was the 4th of July weekend and the holidays have disrupted everybody's work schedule, we'll present our monthly investigative report on July 18th. Next week, we'll warm up with some current outdoor headlines, so join me right here on Public TV.